Welcome to this edition of Inside Fall River. And in some cases we say a special edition, and this, in a sense, is a very special edition because it's one of the few times that my co-host, Wendy, and I are going to host this edition together. And I asked Wendy to be a part of this for a particular reason, which you'll know about in just a few minutes.
So we're calling it the extra special edition?
This is an extra special edition. And many of you have heard that pay-as-you-throw is around the corner. In fact, coming into effect, I believe, August 4th, certainly the first week of August, pending any glitches that might prevent that from happening. And I believe that you need to know more about pay-as-you-throw. And so as a public service, Fall River Community Television is offering this program to help you understand just exactly what is going to be implemented as the pay-as-you-throw program. So I'm going to turn it over to Wendy because she has better capability to pronounce the names of our guests, but I know them as Steve and John.
So I'd like to introduce our two guests today. Thank you so much for coming. First, we have John Craig, who's the director of the Municipal Partnership for Waste Zero. Welcome, John.
Thank you very
and we
much,
have
Steve.
Steve Lasokis, who is the Vice President of Government Affairs, Regional Vice President of Municipal Partnerships.
Thanks very much.
Quite the mouthful, but we're really glad to have you here. So let's begin by telling us about your company and telling us about Pay-as-you-throw.
Okay.
Well, great, Wendy. Thank you very much. And Steve, thank you. It's great to be with you here today. Waste Zero, we've been in business for about 23 years, and we work with cities and towns to help them reduce trash and increase recycling. And so we've been implementing pay-as-you-throw programs across the country. We work with about 800 cities and towns across 41 states, with a heavy emphasis here in Massachusetts and New England. So we've been around for over 2 decades, specializing in cutting trash and increasing recycling. We're the world's largest, America's largest company that focuses on that.
Great. So how is pay-as-you-throw going to be implemented in Fall River? What does that exactly mean, pay-as-you-throw?
Right now, we have a team that's working with the city officials and the mayor. And the team consists of course, Steve and myself, the president of the company, program manager who lives in Plymouth, and she'll be on the ground throughout the implementation program, especially late July and in the beginning of August. We're supported by our home office. We have a director of public engagement that will be doing a lot of press releases, keeping things done with the marketing department, and we'll be working very closely with our plant that's located in South Carolina. South Carolina, I'm sorry. And also our customer service. The customer service is a real key factor here, because they take the orders from the stores and make sure that the deliveries are made in a timely fashion.
The orders of bags.
Of the bags that are going to be delivered to the stores.
So let's take a step back. So pay-as-you-throw means that we're going to...
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So what a lot of people don't realize today is they pay for solid waste. They just pay for it in your taxes. And so what pay-as-you-throw says is, if we take it out of the taxes and let you pay for it directly, people make very different decisions. So what we find is, for instance, for electric meters, when it went from everybody pays the same to you pay for what you use, you see about a 25 to 30% reduction in electrical usage. Water's the same thing. Trash, when we take it out of the taxes and say, when do you manage this because you can make better decisions on your own, we see an average reduction of the high 40%.
Seems very equitable to me. If I don't make a lot of trash, and you make a lot of trash, you should pay more money than I pay. And that seems to fit this particular program.
It fits it perfectly, and what it allows you to do is it helps you make the decision that says, I have this glass bottle. Am I going to put it in the trash or am I going to put it in the recycling? And it rewards you for making the right decision because you fill the bag more slowly and you don't need to buy more bags.
Yeah. I'd like to interject in that part of my wanting Wendy here is Wendy lives in Dartmouth, and Dartmouth has had the pay-as-you-throw program for some time. How much time has it been happening here in Dartmouth, and what kind of success have you had as a consumer?
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been in Dartmouth.
I believe Dartmouth started in 2007.
Okay, so it's been quite a while. I will say this, that we have always had a lifestyle. We compost, we raise animals, so a lot of our waste goes to feed the animals. However, we have less trash now that we pay for the bags. There's no doubt about it. I do have an issue, and I mentioned to you before, that I felt that the bag could maybe be a little stronger. However, in general, it makes us a little bit more conscious, and I'll give you an example of that. So everything that's downstairs, because we have our recycle bins in the house downstairs, everything that's downstairs goes in the appropriate place. But sometimes if I'm cleaning the bathroom upstairs and there's a toilet paper roll, I'll throw it in the garbage. I won't carry it downstairs to put in the recycle bin because I'm, putting the garbage together and it's easier. Now that every bag costs us money, we're much more serious about thinking and making those decisions. So I think that it's working well. Dartmouth seems to think it's working well. I know that.
Yes.
Well, let's take a look. And as you've mentioned, you service several communities in New England and have for quite some time. So let's talk about, and we're going to be showing some slides as you talk. And I think the first communities we're looking at a couple of larger communities, Worcester, I believe, and is it Malden? Or
Right. So
In
let's see if we can get
Malden,
the
right.
Worcester graph up there. Okay, so here you go. You want to walk us through this?
Sure, and Steve, jump in if I'm missing anything here. As you can see, Worcester started their program in 1993, so it's well over 20 years in it being in effect. As you can see in the first green bar, the trash was close to 40,000 tons, and the first year after the implementation of it, it went down just a little bit over 20,000 tons.
So the blue bars represent prior to.
Right, that's correct. Now, if you go all the way to the end, and that would be the last bar. Right now, they are at 21,000 tons as of FY12, and they serve 55,000 households in their program.
Quite a few more than what Fall River
Correct.
was.
And Fall River currently right now are serving 33,000, and their tonnage last year was over 30,000 tons. So you can see that the program really can help the city of Fall River in reducing their disposing costs and saving a lot of money.
So let me ask you a question. In the 1990s, I am assuming that the reason why the blue lines went down a little bit is that's when they began to give us recycle bins for glass and things
Exactly.
like that.
That's
so
when
it
the-
really doesn't represent less garbage. It represents us having a little bit more consciousness about things have to go in different bins
Correct.
to be taken care of.
Correct.
Can we look at the Malden one next, please? This is Worcester. Let's see if we get Malden up there. Here we go.
Now, Malden started in 2008. It was October of 2008. And you can see where it was adopted that it went right down, it went down 49% right away. And it's right now, as you can see, if you go all the way to 2013, it's still at 49%. The key thing with Malden, which I think the residents in Fall River, it's very diverse community. Malden is, and very transit community. They have a lot of tenants, very similar to here in Fall River. One of their key things was that no one expected was their recycling rate tripled. And the mayor and DPW officials, one of the first things they noticed in the street was they were so much cleaner the first week. So it's a program that's really can work in these two large cities, and it works in any
So let's
town.
now take a look at our neighbors, Dartmouth, and see what's going on there. So you want to tell us about this a
Right,
little bit?
this is Wendy's hometown. They started in 2008, and as you can see, they were over 10,000 tons. The first year, they dropped just about 42%, but if you look at the 5 years after that, it's really been over 50% reduction since the
wild.
beginning. It's been unbelievable. And as you know, they use the Crapo landfill, so reducing the trash by this amount is extending the life of the landfill.
Absolutely. So let's look at the bag. Show us what we're going to have.
Sure. The bags in Fall River are going to be this color purple,
Let's see if we can hold it up.
and this is actually the Concord, New Hampshire bag, and it's a 30-gallon bag.
So this is the largest one.
That's the largest one, right? And they're going to come in a sleeve of 5 bags in the sleeve, and it'll be $2 a bag, and the total price of the sleeve, of course, would be $10. The next
Is
size.
this, if I may interject, is this about the quality?
Yes, it's a 1.5 mil. Okay. And one thing that I think is very important that Wendy and I think Steve referred to, in our communities that we serve, it's the average household uses 1.2 bags a week. And as Wendy mentioned, she uses a 15-gallon bag every week, unless she's entertaining, and then she'll use a 30.
Right, I can take in the smaller bags. Well, let's see the other sizes, and then I'll.
This is the 15-gallon one, and this is the one. We didn't have a purple
Right,
colored
but we
bag
can see
for
the
this,
size.
but
So
you want to
let's
see
if
the
you hold this up, we
size.
can see the difference
Right.
in sizes. Right. So in a bag this size, I can fit 2 tall kitchen garbage bags of garbage in it. This one, I can fit 3 or more
Right.
in it.
Okay.
So,
And in
And-
this size bag, and it'll be purple also, the 15-gallon, it'll be $1.25 per bag, $10 a sleeve, so you're going to be getting 8 bags per sleeve in that particular size.
and this is an even smaller bag.
Correct. This is the sample bag from Walden. This is the 8-gallon bag
let's look at it
that a lot of seniors
relation to this.
and singles use. And Mayor Flanagan definitely wanted this size bag for the singles and also for the seniors. This is going to be 75 cents, comes in a sleeve of 8, and the total cost of the sleeve would be $6.
And I imagine you can get a tall kitchen garbage bag and plus.
Right.
Right, plus, like if you know, whatever's in your bathroom maybe and
Correct.
things like that. So,
And so I think what we find is, as John mentioned, is the average is, as John mentioned, 1.2 bags a week. So that's like maybe 5 bags a month.
1.2 30-gallon bags?
Yes. So what that usually is, that's 1 bag a week, and then if there's a birthday or Thanksgiving, that maybe there's another bag once a month or so. So when people are looking at their current the current amount of waste they're throwing away, and I'm throwing away 3 bags a week, so it's going to be $2 times 3 bags a week. Remember, everything's going to change after the program. People will be recycling more.
right.
People will be doing things to reduce the amount of waste. So if people are throwing away 3 bags a week, don't multiply that by 2 and say it's going to be $6 a week. What's going to happen is across 1 million households a week that we work with, it's an average of 1.2 bags, and some communities are substantially under that. One of my neighbors actually can throw away a small bag every 2 weeks.
And all of these go into the regular bins that we currently have been given by the
That's-
city. So the green bins for trash, that's where these bags are going to end up.
Exactly.
That's a
And the
good point, Steve.
recycle bin, the blue bins, will be anything that's recyclable mixed together. No need to separate, no need to put those in bags. In fact, if they're put in plastic bags,
They
is
won't
that a
take
problem?
Yeah, typically that won't be accepted. So
Right.
it's important to don't put it in a pay-as-you throw bag, and then don't put it in any bag whatsoever.
Any plastic bag whatsoever.
Your
and I think-
bottles, your
Correct.
paper.
Exactly.
your
And,
aluminum,
and
all
there
those
tends
things.
to be, and I have tenants, many of them, many, 24 about, and forever they try. I see them trying. They're putting bottles and cans in a plastic bag,
Right.
and they're putting the plastic bag then in the recycle bin.
Right.
Shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
They should be putting the bottles and cans into the recycle bin, either in a paper bag
Right.
or loose.
Just
Exactly.
loose, right.
Washed out, rinsed
Right.
out.
Right, and I think that that's part of it, that, you know, it's wonderful that this is going to make things better, but it also means that we have to take some responsibility. And that responsibility means that we have to wash out the bottles and we have to wash out the cans. We can't simply expect not to have a part in making this a successful program.
Why is it so important not to put recyclables in a plastic bag?
I think there's a couple of reasons. So the way recycling is processed today is a very mechanized process. And so the plastic bags do 2 things. One, because there's so much machinery involved, they can get caught on the machinery and wind around, and then you have to cut it off all the axles, which creates cost and danger for the people who work there.
And stoppage time. I
Exactly.
Yes,
You have to
right.
shut the whole line down.
Right.
And the second thing is a lot of the sorting is done by density or an optical scanner that actually looks at the material. And if it's all bundled together in one plastic bag, it doesn't sort properly. So a bunch of aluminum cans in one bag doesn't react like an aluminum can.
Well, I think as the education process continues, that needs to be emphasized. I see that as being one of the major problems that exists among the residents of Fall River, and particularly tenants, but also homeowners, thinking they're doing the right thing by putting their recyclables in a plastic bag and then putting them in the recycle bin. It's dangerous for workers, and it's not the way you do it. You have to put the recyclables in the recycle bin without a plastic bag being included in the process.
Can you put it in a paper bag?
Different material you can. I think paper. You usually can. For plastic bottles and cans and glassware, I just put that in loose.
I think I can imagine what becomes an issue if you live on the 3rd floor
Right.
and you have 12 bottles, so you have to put it in something to carry it downstairs.
Right.
And so we have to get into the habit of dumping that bag into the recycle bin and taking back the bag that we carry it down
Exactly.
with.
Right.
One of the questions we sort of jumped over, and I want to get to it, is the question specifically, Fall River is a large community. Tell us how this program will be successful in Fall River, with probably about 70% of the users
Right.
are tenants.
Right.
And how are we going to succeed with that population, as well as the population that are owner-occupied?
Sure. That's a great question, and I think there's a couple of things to focus on when we think of that question. The first is what pay-as-you-throw does is it introduces, you pay for what you use. Just like for every T-shirt you buy, every banana you buy, anything that you buy in the store, today we pay for what we use. Solid waste is one of the very few things where we don't do that. So I think a lot of people look at the change and say, oh my goodness, things are going to fail because there's change. We're actually changing to what we do for 95% of the economy today. But it's a change, and people rightly ask the question, is that going to work? People are very used to paying for what they use. But the most important thing with a large community, and we've seen this in Worcester, we've seen this in Malden, we've seen this in Concord, New Hampshire, we've seen this in many communities, is one has to respect the complexity and diversity of a municipality. Fall River is a big community, so we are doing outreach, and John has been leading that effort across all the different neighborhood groups in Fall River, where we'll be doing our outreach in multiple languages. We're trying to reach people in writing, on the airwaves, on television programs like this, trying to reach out to people where they are to make it convenient for them. And then even as the program starts, there are just a lot of people who may not read the paper or somehow miss the communication, or they see it but it really doesn't resonate. Is as the program's going forward, making sure that there's engagement with people at their household level, so they know if they use the wrong bag, you get a notice that says, hey, could you please use the correct bag? So really reaching out to people, really trying to communicate and reach them where they are is a really critical factor in making sure the program's successful.
And to add to that, we're going to have 2 mailings in July. One's going to be a postcard, and that's going to go to every household that is currently being served, so all 33,000 households will get that. The other one is later in the month, you're going to get another mailing with a free bag and instructions what's recyclable, what should go in the trash, and all the guidelines to the pay-as-you-throw program. So there'll be 2 mailings coming in July that I think are really going to help. But Steve said that commitment, and we are committed for that engagement with the residents and working with the city.
So when will this start officially?
August 4th is the official. That's the first full week in August.
And while I appreciate and understand and can applaud the educational component, clearly not everyone is accepting of being educated. And I know there's an enforcement issue, and there are fines connected to enforcement. And tenants, again, and property owners need to understand that this is going to be a shared expense, that all of the burden is not going to be on the property owner. It's going to be, in fact, on the tenant.
Yes.
But the tenants themselves are going to be paying fines if they don't adhere to the rules. Could you go expand upon that?
Sure. So the bag is required, and so for the trash to be picked up, to be not considered put there inappropriately, it has to be in the right bag. If it's not in the correct bag, the city's not going to leave it on the street corner to, what would happen to trash in July, sitting there for weeks and weeks.
That New York style.
Exactly. It's going to be picked up, but the city will be undertaking enforcement efforts to try to find out who put that bag there, at least to have communication that says, by the way, you need to use the purple bag. But there are some people who, they will test any system. They test the system today. And so there will be fines associated with folks who conduct illegal dumping and refuse to participate in the program.
And those fines aren't inexpensive.
No, I
No,
mean,
they're not.
the max fine permitted is up to $300 under state law. So it's something that I recommend using the $2 bag or the $1.25 or the 75-cent bag and avoid all the headache. And that's what we find in most cities and towns anyway, actually all cities and towns, is when you roll out the program, as long as for the first couple of weeks there's that communication, everybody understands, oh, this is the rule, okay, that's fine. And the vast, vast majority of people participate in the program and are comfortable doing it because, I mean, it's the experience of a lot of cities and towns, but most people are good people and will want to do the right thing as long as they know what the right thing is.
Yeah, and to expand on that, that enforcement's going to include a lot of education to the residents.
Right.
So it's not just going to be fines. They're going to educate and educate to make sure you're following the program correctly.
And if there was an organization in town or a faith-based organization or a club that would want a presentation about this, is there some way we can connect with you and find that out?
Yes, actually we have done, let's see, just about 9 neighborhood associations. We have visited the senior centers, all 3 of them, and we have 2 more, the North End to do and Niagara. So the Niagara one, I believe, is going to be Monday night, and the North End one will be scheduled next in the month of July.
Excellent.
Okay, but if there's other groups that you feel it's going to be helpful for you, please let us know.
Well, we hope that those who are watching this will understand that if you'd like to have representatives from Pay As You Throw and possibly even someone from the city, because that has been the case. I know Mrs. Viveros
Yes.
has attended some of these as well. That this group, if you will, are available to you to speak to a particular group that you might be a part of. If we could go over a bit, we have about 6 minutes or so left to the show, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the items that people can recycle and what goes into trash and what shouldn't go into trash. So I know that you, as you mentioned, John, that mailing will be something that people will have and hopefully post on their refrigerator or some appropriate place.
Right,
But
right.
what are the kinds of items that should be recycled so people can get in the habit of it now?
Right, and this is not new to the city. They've been, when the carts came out, the DCM.
The camera's going to zoom in on you
I'm
there,
sorry.
Alan.
They sent this to all the residents that were being served. And there's 2 things there, what can be recyclable, there's graphics, there's verbiage, and then also on the other page is what is trash. One of the big things we find in every one of our communities is styrofoam. That is trash, unfortunately. So when you're one thing that we find in a lot of our communities is very important is people are very careful what they buy and how it's packaged,
Right.
because they
Right.
don't want to be responsible for the styrofoam and all the
Right.
different
So styrofoam
packaging.
is like when you get a takeout meal in that
Yeah.
container, or those
Right,
little
right.
Packaging peanuts.
packaging peanuts
Exactly.
that stick
correct,
to everything
correct.
and fly all
Yeah.
over the place. right?
That's considered trash.
Right.
That's
Even
trash.
though, in fact, there is a technology to
Absolutely, yes.
recycle
Recycle it, but we don't
styrofoam,
have that yet.
we're not taking advantage of that yet.
Right.
Might change in the future,
Right.
but right now styrofoam is trash.
So I think one of the ways that people often remember is if you can rip it, you can recycle it.
Oh,
So if it's
that's good.
paper,
Right.
if it's
That's good.
cardboard, most plastics are recyclable, and most metals, so
So the
aluminum
plastic
cans and
bags that we just mentioned, which are the nemesis of so many things, dumps and trees.
Yes.
And they really are a menace. They really should be considered to be trash.
things. Well, you can put them in your trash, or you can take them to the grocery store and they'll be
You can bring them
recycled there.
back to the market.
Right.
Exactly.
And you also can purchase, canvas bags to carry your groceries and things
Sure.
in. So you don't
Exactly.
even have to do that. And there's also green plastic bags that you can buy that are better. They're not completely recyclable, but they're not
Yes.
completely great, but they are better. Before we're getting close to the end, 50% we're going to reduce. So where's that money go? What's it going to support?
Great question. So I think as the city is looking to the use of the money is first off, I think, to preserve staffing in the fire department. So there's a SAFER grant, a federal grant that the city is that's expiring this year. And so one of the key uses for this revenue and the financial savings for Pay As You Throw is to restore staffing in the fire department to make sure that the men and women of the Fall River Fire Department, there are enough who are able to respond and respond safely to a fire in Fall River or to a medical incident or anything else. So I think that's the first and primary use. And secondly, the Department of Public Works and other departments may be looking at layoffs without this $3.5 million that will be provided. So I think primarily you're looking at public safety staffing, but there's also increased spending, state-mandated increased spending on the education side and in other areas that will provide some support and
Okay, so
continue
let's
to
do a
provide
little
services.
plus delta. Okay, so on the plus side, we're going to have more money coming in to support the fire departments, support the government programs, support government workers. We're going to be more conscious of what we're putting in the landfills and increasing the amount of time those landfills will be good for us.
Yes.
We're raising our own consciousness and making sure that we're learning how to best deal with the things that we use. And on the negative side,
It's a change, and I think that any change is difficult. There's always a transition, so that's why we emphasize so much of education and outreach is to help people through that. And then people need to purchase the bags, and that's both a change and a cost for folks.
Well, there's a negative side that's been brought to my attention by many, and saying, well, I'm just not going to use the bags. I'm going to take my trash to work.
Sure.
You know, I work in a community that doesn't have pay-as-you-throw. Or, worse, I'm going to just drop my trash off in some discreet place where no one's going to see me.
Right.
And it's going to increase dumping, illegal dumping.
Right.
What's your response to that?
So, again, great question that comes up in every community. What we have seen, what Malden has seen, what Worcester has seen, what every community, rural, suburban, and urban has seen, and the EPA has demonstrated, is that illegal dumping does not increase with pay-as-you-throw. So there may be a little movement in the first month as you count green bags or black bags as illegal dumping. You know, in the first week, if people make a mistake with the bag, you may or may not count that. But in the long term, there is no change in illegal dumping, and many communities will see a reduction. So if you go to Worcester, the people who were involved in the implementation said there is no change because people are inherently good people. And for those who aren't, more than 60% of them leave identifying information in that bag they put in the park. Right. And when the police come knocking on your door, or your name is now in the police blotter as someone who intentionally put a bag in a park that the kids of the city of Fall River use, those are pretty powerful messages. So we don't find people doing it because most people are good. And for the few people who try to do it, there's enforcement there that happens, and people. Again, in Worcester, it's not been their experience that it's changed. In Malden, it's not changed. In other communities, it's not.
All right.
Well, let's wrap it up. We are at our last minute or so. If people want more information, is there a contact number or a particular department that people ought to be
or a
contacting?
website,
Yeah, I think we're going to have a website that's going to be active in the first week of July. Excuse me, 800 number, and the website will be created in July. I would say right now would go through the Public Works, the Department of
Public Works, which 508-324-2000
Right.
is the government center
Center.
number.
Right.
And the government center receptionist will connect you, no doubt, to the right
Correct.
department. So for now, the government center number, 508-324-2000. And in the future, when the educational campaign rolls out, people will be getting other numbers and other contact information.
Correct.
Steve and John, thank you so much.
thank
Wendy,
you.
any
Pleasure.
closing remarks?
well, I think that all change is difficult, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Right.
This is a good, positive step
We hope
for
so.
our city.
And thank you. Thank you for joining Inside Fall River. And remember, it benefits all of us to recycle, and it benefits all of us to be proud of our community and keep it clean. This is Steve Camara signing off for Wendy Gottlieb on Inside Fall River.